3. Everybody, we are back. It is Take the Line's favorite Raiders podcast, favorite Raiders channel, favorite Raiders everything. We are back. You guys already know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. Subscribe. Hit the like button if you like it. Hit the dislike button if you don't like it. Leave a comment if you like it. Leave a comment if you don't like it. Also follow me and Matt on Twitter at the Mark John NFL for me and at mholder95 for Matt. Today we're talking joint practice reaction. Right, so reaction and preseason preview. Joint practices went pretty well. You know, especially for the defense. The defense had a lot to talk about, and it's really to get everybody hype. The secondary is playing really well. The linebackers actually made some plays today. We got some linebacker love today, which is really good. And the defensive line is making a lot of plays against the 49ers offense over there. And then, of course, the offense was just kind of steady. And, it was quiet, but efficient. I mean, that's basically what they want to be all year, in my opinion. So I think this was a focus for them. Matt, what are some of your initial thoughts of joint practice?
I mean, one of the biggest things I think was today, especially today, was the turnovers. Like I kept hearing that seemed to be a constant theme. Like we've talked about it. Josh McDaniels has talked about it. The Raiders need to get much better at, intercepting passes, creating turnovers. I think the last 2 years they have 12 total, 6 last year, 6 the year before, and they had 6 today in practice alone. Robert Spillane had 2, like Luke Masterson had 1. Talking about the linebackers you were just talking about. So that's one of my biggest takeaways is, they're actually making improvements in that area of the game, turning one of their biggest weaknesses into a strength. Marcus Peters got, I think, 1 each day or something like that. I know he got 1 at least today. And I mean, that's what you got to bring that guy in for. So biggest thing. And Jimmy G looking sharp, at least for the first day out there against his old team. So good for him to get that little confidence boost, maybe get some rhythm going from what's been a tough start to his camp.
Yeah. So, let's start off with the defense a little bit, kind of talk about what they've been doing the past couple of days. So the first day, they had a pretty good day. They were still able to get some interceptions on Brock Purdy. Marcus Peters got one the first day, I believe. And, they actually Meek Robinson had a pretty good first day, which is interesting. And he actually got to knock down a couple plays. So they were able to keep it steady with them. I think they got a couple touchdowns the first day, the 49ers offense. And then today is when it just became interceptions everywhere with 6 interceptions. Guys making plays. I think Masterson got an interception as well. I think everybody was just making plays out there and, getting those turnovers, and that's what you like to see. And, Brock Purdy ended up throwing 3. But, the Raiders didn't have any turnovers last year, so we're excited about them just making plays out there in the secondary, to be honest, and understanding what they want to do, trying to stop these football teams. So, we're excited about that. And then, of course, the pass rush had a good couple of days too as well, and some guys actually made some names for themselves. We'll talk about in a second. So what are your thoughts, Matt, going deeper into the defense?
I mean, well, one of the big things that I saw is, like, especially this last on Friday, I think Sean wrote about it, like they only gave up 1 touchdown. It was at the very end. It sounded like on what maybe was like a scramble drill or something like that by Brock Purdy. So again, another great showing for the defense that we thought was going to be a really big problem, and ended up being the highlight of both practices from both teams. Was the best unit on the field, which never thought we'd say when the 49ers came into town, especially a team that played in the NFC Championship last year, So
yeah. I mean, especially a team like that has come in and supposed to be one of the best teams in the league, and for the Raiders kind of hold their own the first day, and then kind of, especially on defense, dominate over there. I guess there are some players out like George Kittle and stuff like that, but even then, it's still really good outlook. You still got Deebo Samuel, you still got the Ayuk and those guys out there. A lot of those starters that they have, and they're playing with. I mean, Trent Williams still out there, and they're getting a lot of pressure. And the 7th round pick out of ASU, forks up. Making a lot of plays, and Max Crosby's really noticing him. So what are your thoughts about him, Matt? What did you see on film from him as a rookie, and what did you see when you watched him before the season started?
From the sounds of it, from everything Dave Ziegler's talked about, from what I've watched on film, is it's kind of been what they've expected. Like, he was super disruptive against the run in ASU. I think he had even in his career, including Miami, he had like 20 and a half tackles for loss in 5 years, which is pretty damn good. His first 2 years more of a rotational player too. So, and it's from the sounds of it, that's kind of what he's been doing, just kind of wreaking havoc, playing in the offense's backfield. I mean, as a 7th round pick, it's tough to stand out, especially in a crowded position group like the defensive tackle is that has just a lot of bodies in it. And he's made the most of the opportunities, took advantage of the extra reps, I'm sure, without having Neil Farrell and Byron Young in the beginning of camp. And obviously made a pretty good impression, got the ringing endorsement from Max Crosby. So it's a good one to have. And I think he was one of the few guys that Deshaun, called out from the interior defensive line that's really kind of stepping up and showing out, and was one of the guys that was winning a lot in the one-on-one. So doing everything he needs to do to make the roster. I'll be excited to watch him on Sunday, see if he can make some more noise and build his case.
Yeah, it sounds like he already is building that case. Especially even when you're a 7th round pick, you still have a little bit of chance to make that team. And probably higher than the undrafted guys, right? So they really want you to develop. They drafted you for a reason, and they decided to pick you, and in the round and whatever they wanted to do, right? So that if he can kind of develop into something that maybe can replace like Neil Farrell if Neil Farrell doesn't work out, or they could just have a great rotation there. So, they're kind of similar players a little bit, especially, Nesta, when he was out at the Senior Bowl, he really played nose a lot, especially at the Senior Bowl. And that's really, really showed out to me and kind of got drafted, because I think there was a lot of off the field issues that he had to deal with. And I think that really helped him get drafted was that great week he had at the Senior Bowl, because he really did perform really well there. So hearing his growth is excellent to hear. Bilal Nichols did pretty well in one-on-ones. Name I really didn't hear. I don't know if he was hurt. Maybe it was Jerry Tillery. I don't know if he got hurt the first day or anything like that, but I didn't hear Jerry Tillery that much. But that's really not that expected from me. I'm not expecting that much. I really hope Brian Young beats him out, in my personal opinion. So, and I see the development of him too. I see he would have some pretty good one-on-one sessions. So they're getting pressure inside, and of course there's Max. You don't have to worry about that. Yeah. But the interior pressure is important. I think Byron Young kind of getting better and becoming a better player too, and developing is really important.
Yeah, and him coming off, this was his first this is his first week back in practice after starting on PUP. So for him to come out of the gates and firing and doing exactly what he needs to do, that's huge. That's their 3rd round pick right there. That's going out and looking like a starter and starting to separate himself. I think I saw John Jenkins was one of the standouts too, winning that battle maybe at nose to start the year. So we're starting to see a little bit of a semblance of people starting to separate themselves from everybody else. So getting this roster set.
Yeah, even Robert Spillane, he had a pretty good week. He's making a name for himself too. Raiders fans already love him because he's going to be just running people over. He's I love football, and that's all he says, like he's the Hulk. So he's that type of player that's going to put his face mask and right in somebody's chest and kind of get the crowd going. But he's showing some love and coverage. At 2 interceptions this week, so you can feel he's probably understanding his zone coverage and what he really needs to do out there, and that's a good thing. Because that's really something he's not known for is pass coverage. He's really known for being that kind of force as a run blocker, play the gaps and do all that great stuff. So that's what they're expecting from him, and you knew you were going to get that, and he's going to play well there. So to get some elements of him playing really well in pass coverage is good to hear for sure. Yeah,
that's one of the biggest things. Again, if the more turnovers they can create, the more people that they can get their hands on the ball. And a guy that's not necessarily his strength, for him to be showing that out and doing it in practice, huge. Again,
yeah.
The linebackers stepped up today. Masterson with the pick. So didn't hear anything about Diabo, but hey, if they can get at least 2 of those guys to step up and be contributors for him, we'll take it. We'll roll with it.
Yeah, somebody confused Masterson and Spillane. I think somebody gave Spillane 3 interceptions earlier, so that they confused those two. It's probably so far away, can't tell to see.
It was just a linebacker. It was just a white linebacker.
Yeah, basically out there. He's like, got interception. So he assumed it was Robert Spillane. That's what's funny about kind of all this talk a little bit. They're so far away that they really didn't get to see exactly what was going on. They could just kind of see, kind of the movement and what they're trying to do out there. But hey, man, if the secondary's making plays, Marcus Epps got a pick too. Everybody's out there getting interceptions. So, Marcus Epps, Trayvon Moreg, they're really, showing out in camp. Ja'Cory and Bennett, is playing really well out there in camp. Duke Shelley is playing well as well. So David Long is injured, so I feel like he's kind of fallen off at this point. If he sees those guys kind of coming up, and there might be a chance of Duke Shelley makes his football team. I mean, people expected that, but what do you think about the secondary so far? I mean, they're kind of playing pretty well. I mean, Marcus Peters is balling out, but I think he's just got the Raiders thing on. He's just it's bleeding inside of him. He's showing out. But go ahead.
I was curious. Did I see that Bennett was listed as a starter in the first depth chart? Or is that not? Was that wrong? Or he was?
I think so. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm pretty sure he was, because if Facyon's not playing, then he's the starter.
Yeah. So I mean, another young guy, another draft pick from this past year that's stepping up, showing out. That's one of the things. Another good thing to see. I mean, again, guys that can get their hands on the ball and create turnovers, those are the guys that are going to make this team this year. That's the focus, and that's what we've been seeing from the secondary and from hearing from them. Marcus Peters already making a difference, serving as a mentor, coaching those other guys up. And Duke Shelley finally getting a little shout out. Felt like we hadn't heard much from him in camp, and get his hands on the ball, getting involved in the action. And again, for everything that we've read from even Niners reporters too, like the Raiders defense just dominated them as a whole. And I think a big part of that, from the sounds of it, was the secondary creating turnovers and taking advantage of what seems like some bad quarterback play out in San Francisco. But hey, you can only take on the people you line up across from. So take advantage.
Yeah, exactly. And it's actually Nate Hobbs they have as the other cornerback, but Ja'Cory Bennett is behind Nate Hobbs.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I mean, it depends how you want to look at it. I mean, technically, yeah, but
they only have two corners though.
Yeah, they only have two corners on there.
Well, they're going to play more nickel than base, so
exactly. So, I mean, Hobbs has the he's playing inside right now, mixing with Hall, but Bennett, he is a playmaker too, and he is his. Nobody's beat him deep except Marvin Harrison Jr., which I'm still trying to figure out how fast that guy is. I don't know what he's gonna do when it comes to that. He's a freak, and nobody else beat Ja'Cory Bennett though, and I think that speed's gonna work out, and especially if he's a good playmaker. I think he has a chance to be a really good pick, in my opinion. Especially he's a feisty guy, so I really like his toughness and what he brings to the table.
I think he had, in his last 2 years at Maryland, 15 combined pass breakups and like 5 picks, so like 20 plays on the ball. Mm-hmm. Take that. Yeah. And again, if he's stepping up, showing out, that's awesome. It is fun though. It's like all the little guys, all Bennett, Duke Shelley, all the small guys are playing well. Yeah,
I mean they are tiny at corners. Pete Carroll will be having a heart attack right now with all these short corners. All right, let's move on to offense. Offense, I mean, a little bit of noise out of there. I mean, there's some good elements. I mean, there wasn't any interceptions, so we're the interceptions are gone. There wasn't really interceptions all week, so we're proud of them. The 49ers guys are throwing picks in 7-on-7, and I got in trouble for that a little bit, but hey, I don't like that. The Raiders, they got that fixed. We don't do picks in 7-on-7 over here anymore. So, but a good week out of the offense. I mean, they were very efficient. They moved the ball a lot. I mean, every time you talked about it, they moved the ball. They're moving the chains. Jimmy Garoppolo is being good on third down. They're very good in the red zone. The red zone drills, they got a lot of touchdowns. Some to Carter's. One to Austin Hooper. So they're mixing it up pretty well out there. And I think that even Aiden O'Connell had a pretty good week, probably better than he was practicing, which I think is interesting. That he was struggling really bad against the Raiders defense, and he went against the 49ers twos. And he had a deep touchdown today, and he was pretty good on Thursday. So the offense, Zamir White has some good runs too, I heard out there, but the offense is going to be efficient. They're just not having those explosive plays out there. So, I mean, they're just moving the chains on the Niners, and, that's how they're going to play.
And I mean, it's what we've been talking about for a while, right? That's going to be the biggest difference in the Raiders offense this year. But you said two things that mix well together. They're efficient and they're good in the red zone. If they can do that and they continue that, like that's all you need to do to put points on the board. And I mean, that's kind of what Jimmy Garoppolo is in here to bring, right? Like to make that keep the offense on schedule, keep the ball going where Josh McDaniels wants it to go. And then when they get in the red zone, that's where he kind of has the leg up over Derek Carr and where he's at his best usually. So that's the encouraging sign. Jimmy Garoppolo, from everything everyone was saying, had a really good day on Thursday. And I mean, everyone was singing his praises pretty much, even on the Niners side. So again, throwing darts in the red zone. It sounded like Friday they were missing like half the starters, especially after Davante went down. Renfro was out. Mayer missed both practices with like a minor injury or whatever. So not much going on that front, but a good day for Jimmy G, or a good week for Jimmy G against his old team. So good way to get him back, building some momentum for the season.
Yeah, and that's how they're going to play. I mean, they're going to go down there and they're going to be efficient and try to play really well in the red zone. It's going to be interesting to me how effective that is as the season goes along, because I think there's just going to be games where you're not going to be able to do 80-yard drives every single game, and they're going to have. That's why the turnovers are important, because if they have those shorter drives, maybe they can make some, get some points on the board and score some more points, because it's going to be a little hard to kind of keep that 80-yard drive every single time and finish it off without explosive plays. So they're going to have to find ways to mix it up and get explosive plays, and maybe that comes with the run game. They're thinking, but if they're not throwing downfield right now in practice, you shouldn't expect them to be throwing downfield that much in the season. So, but it's going to be the efficiency, a lot of Myers, a lot of Renfro. I've been telling people, you get Renfro in fantasy, he's going to be available late in those rounds. Get you some Hunter Renfro. I think he's going to mix it up, have some good games where he's, making a lot of catches for Jimmy Garoppolo, or Jimmy Garoppolo could depend on him. And I think they'll even be able to use him in the red zone, hopefully a little bit more with maximizing what he can do. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out. Because, what I did over the past week, I watched like every single Jimmy Garoppolo throw last year from the red zone. So I'm about to do a breakdown on that, but it's interesting to kind of I mean, he has some really good throws in the red zone, to be honest. He does. He has some pretty good throws. I think he has a good idea of what, like, Kittle and Samuel, where they wanted the football. And I think that's like a good thing that he used to do. And they used to make some plays for him down there. And he would trust them and kind of like throw it to areas, and they would get there and things like that. But to be honest, it was a lot of screens. I mean, keep real true. It was a lot of screens.
That is the one thing I did notice, like when there's that one play, like I think might have been like a Sunday Night Football game where like he threw it to Kittle in the back of the end zone, threw a nice ball, like went up and gave him a chance, but like just was a little like too out. I think Kittle was right on the white, and then Brandon Ayuk's like just walking in right in the flats that he just didn't even see. So he definitely has his guys in the red zone when he kind of locks onto. If someone like Michael Mayer can be what Kittle was, where they can get that chemistry together, like that's where I think it'll be the most effective. And I mean, we already heard about him hitting Austin Hooper for a touchdown. So tight ends going to be a big spot for him, or someone who he really likes to lean on in that area. Yeah,
because I mean, what you'll notice, and when I did the breakdown, I mean, the most important thing is that he needs time, because if he doesn't have time, then it's kind of different that what his red zone repetition is. So I mean, but if he has time and he can make some, he's pretty effective there. He's pretty effective. He could get it done. But there was a lot of screens and kind of a lot of scheming, which I think is important too. And I think Josh McDaniels has to get a little bit better there himself. And I think they got to run the ball a little bit better down there, because he doesn't throw. Shanahan really didn't throw the ball with him down there. So it's like, it wasn't that hard for me to do, because it was like 2 throws a game. So you know what I mean? It wasn't that hard for me to kind of have that kind of a breakdown. So like, I think that's what they have to realize too. They're gonna have to run the ball better down there. And I think McDaniels has to get, a little mix it up with the scheming, I think, because, since 2019 with Tom Brady, they're like 28th, and then they were 28th, and then they were 11th with Mac Jones in 2021, but Damian Harris and Stevenson had like 23 touchdowns. So I think that he's got to mix it up a little bit in the passing game himself, and get the running game going, because, Jimmy G's not going to bail him out in the red zone. Let's just say that.
Makes sense.
But he's going to be effective, but he's not going to bail him out. So
gotcha. That makes sense. Well, speaking of, I was curious, how about we were talking about the protection and how he's going to need time. How has the offensive line did? I feel like we didn't hear too much about it, which could be a good thing. Like I didn't hear anything about Eric Armstead or Javon Hargrave or anything going on in practice. I don't even know if those guys out there.
Hargrave wasn't out there. Armstead was the first day. So Armstead was out there the first day, but he was working Dylan Parham pretty good. So Dylan Parham did not have a great day against Eric Armstead. The defensive line for the Niners pretty much kind of beat them up all week, to be honest. They kind of, they held their own. They did I mean, they did what they're supposed to do in defensive line, O-line, one-on-one drill. So they went out there and kind of beat him up. But McClinton Curtis had some good noise come out that he played pretty well in the one-on-ones. Andre James, Colton Miller, those guys, they handled their own. So, Miller is going to do his thing. Parham, I think he struggled a little bit. You didn't hear really anything about them with how they were getting after the passer in offense, because I think Jimmy G's getting rid of the ball so quick. That's what I think they're going to maximize it. That's what I'm talking about, the short passes. I think what's going to start happening is that he's going to just start getting rid of that ball super quick. We're going to see the ball come out like 2.4 seconds. And yeah, it's going to be, like I said, for efficiency, it's going to be great, but you're going to miss some of those explosive plays when you keep running that offense. But that's kind of to minimize the offensive line against himself as well. And I think that, we'll get to Adams in a second, but I think that kind of played into like the first day Adams really didn't get any targets. Right. And they're hitting Renfro and Myers and all these other guys inside. Yeah, that's going to be, really good, but you got to find a way to get him involved. So we'll see. I think Adams will be a slot receiver by week 3. I'm just fine.
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, that sounds about right. We were all worried about how Jacoby Myers and Hunter Renfro were going to be able to coexist on the field. And the truth is, we should have been concerned about Davante Adams and slot targets.
basically, but Adams will move inside. He'll make sure Josh knows that he's going to play inside now where Hunter's playing if he's getting all the targets.
Just go up to Renfro or Jacoby Myers and tap him on the shoulder. Like, hey, bud.
Hey, Myers, go outside, man. You're playing X today.
Yeah.
But speaking of Adams ended up he did get injured today, so that was kind of some big news out of Raiders camp. But I mean, it is said to be minor, but hopefully he'll recover. I just think he should. We're not doing any more joint practices with Davante Adams. Even though I really feel like they need that, man. He's got to find a way to get him the football, because he had an interesting comment. Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm talking about. He had an interesting comment during his press conference where he talked about getting on the same page with, Davante Adams, how he's a unique player, which is basically saying how he doesn't know what route he's going to do whenever he wants to do it. He's got to get on the same page. Talk about he missed him a couple times. So I think they really got to work on that. So it's going to be interesting to see how they mix it up next week with the joint practice of him trying to get over that injury. And I think it's going to be some missed reps where, sometimes he's not always going to tell you where to go with the football to Adams, but man, sometimes you got to throw to Adams, and that's going to be interesting, the dynamic between him and Jimmy Garoppolo, because I feel like Jimmy Garoppolo is going to do what Josh wants him to do. So,
oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, like that's one of the big differences in the two is Derek Carr was his boy was, Davante Adams, and then Jimmy Garoppolo, his boy is Josh McDaniels. So one's going to feed the other, you're going to feed your friend or whatever, listen to what they say. But yeah, that is the big thing. I mean, luckily it's a minor injury with Davante, but anytime you're a player of that caliber goes down, you have to hold your breath a little bit and get a little worried. I definitely think, like you said, they need to get more reps together. They need to find ways to get him the ball somehow to get it down the field. Maybe at some point we'll hope that, Jimmy G will just start chucking him up there, but I don't know. That's the biggest thing, and I feel like the biggest issue with this offense and the way that it wants to go is how much is 17 going to be involved?
Yeah, but that's what I was talking about. You got to move him inside if that's how it's going to be, or just because that's where all the short passes are, and that's it. You want him with the football, man. He can make plays regardless, right? And we're just not going to see a lot of those. Oh my God, I got Davante 101. Sure, there might be a wide hook on the other side I'm supposed to go to. I'm just going to throw this fade up. You're not going to see that anymore. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic works going into the season with him and Jimmy. But Hunter Renfro, man, he's going to eat, bro. Hunter Renfro is eating. Hunter, he's fine. He's okay over there.
Yeah. I mean, that was another encouraging thing to hear, is like that guy that was down last year and is picking it back up, especially, again, we were sitting here wondering how much of a role he was going to have a month ago. And now it sounds like he might be one of lead the team in targets. So.
Yeah, for sure. Which, we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes with that. Anything else to talk about? Really, nothing really big. We got the preseason preview. I'm excited to see some Aiden O'Connell. I heard some great things about Aiden. Let's see if it goes into the season. I just don't know any of the wide receivers are going to be playing with them. Like maybe DeAndre Carter, maybe. I mean, Trey Tucker probably, right?
DeAndre Carter, Dorsett. Is Dorsett's healthy, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I haven't heard a damn thing about him, but he's healthy.
Yeah.
Dorsett probably,
out there.
Trey Tucker, Carter, probably. I think Chris Lacey's hurt though, so it'd be interesting to see who O'Connell plays with. I want to see McClendon Curtis out there. I'm really excited to see what he's going to do. Even Dalton Wagner, see some of those guys mix it up and see who's going to fill in on some of those other positions. And Brandon Parker, we'll see how much run he gets. But he's playing behind.
Gonna look over the Thayer Munford. We're off Thayer Munford hype train on the Brandon Parker, bro.
No. I mean, Brandon Parker's gonna play. I mean, Thayer Munford might play a series. You know what I mean? That's how good he's playing out there. He might play a series or two.
For Thayer?
I think so. I think Thayer has pretty. Once Illuminar let that, kind of like rip off that right tackle position. And he let the young guy come in there that they drafted, that they probably are really high on anyways, because he kind of rose through camp last year to the position where he could be a backup right tackle. Yeah, man, you shouldn't have slipped. Now it's gonna be hard to get it back. It is. It's gonna be hard. And even for me, just because how well he even played, you could say you could get semantics or whatever. He played well enough that I'm like, damn, he's probably gonna be a pretty damn good right tackle. So I'm excited about see what he does, but I don't think he's going to play that much. And if Luminor plays a lot, that'll tell us a lot too. So
yeah, and the snap counts will be interesting between those two, and obviously the one who's getting the most is going to be in the biggest trouble. I wonder too if Luminor will take some reps at guard, but I think he said he's been at right tackle the entire time.
Yeah, and got Alex Bars versus Greg Van Roten. That's gonna be a battle that we're rooting for Greg here at Tato Live. I'm sure all the Tato Live fans we're rooting for Greg. Hoping Greg goes out there and wins that. Let's go, Greg. Have a great game out there. But it's that's a
unbiased journalism over here. We're
unbiased journalism right there
before the first preseason game.
Unbiased. That's the only bias I got, man. If we're gonna have a great season, let's make sure Jimmy G doesn't have any interior pressure here. So let's minimize that as much as possible. So just put him out there. Even Moody, I'm good with Moody going out there and playing pretty well. I'm excited to see him. I don't know anybody else on. You're excited to see? I mean, Corey Bennett, of course, he's gonna get some run. He's a rookie. Course,
the defense tackles we were talking about, Nesta and Byron Young. I would love to see them. I don't know how many reps Byron Young's going to get, but I imagine Nesta's going to play pretty much a full workload or as full of a workload in the preseason as you can get. So seeing how those two guys, especially seeing if the hype's legit. We had a Malcolm Kuntz sign that we glossed over. I think Vic tweeted out that he was winning in the one-on-one. So maybe we'll get a preseason, another preseason hero performance from Malcolm Kuntz.
Yeah,
just in time. So,
I mean, I'm a big Malcolm Kuntz fan coming out, so I'm rooting for Malcolm too. But he hasn't really developed like he should have, or if he's actually got the chance to play and kind of develop, And then they drafted Tyree Wilson, so he's gonna have to go out there and ball because Jordan Willis is out there making plays too. He's winning the one-on-ones a lot. So Jordan Willis is a guy I kind of want to see. I want to see what he can do, especially early on. I don't think he'll play that deep into the second quarter either. But that's another guy that I'm excited to see. And of course, I want to see some Drake Thomas. I feel like Drake Thomas hasn't spoke for himself, but I feel like we're going to see Drake Thomas make some plays this week, and everybody's like, "Oh, there's Drake Thomas," because it's game time, and the little small guys need to come out there and make plays. It's kind of like the dude from Cincinnati, Ivan Pace, kind of went out there and just made plays.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I mean, again, another huge opportunity for a lot of these young guys, a lot of these guys that we've been talking about for a while, like Drake Thomas, like McClendon Curtis, that we finally get our first chance at seeing and get to see what Aiden O'Connell can do, see if AOC can save us. Yeah, man. Can AOC become Kirk Cousins? That's all we want. Can he become our Kirk Cousins, There you go.
So, all right. Any last thoughts, Matt, on joint practice?
Just for right now, obviously, winning the training camp battle or the joint practice against the Niners doesn't mean anything in the big picture thing. But what I will say is for what we have right now, what we're seeing from the Raiders, good progress. And everything's been positive so far. For the most part, it's been all positive. So getting off to a right foot. Hopefully, they keep the momentum going on Sunday, and maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see some life from this team that we weren't expecting much from. So good to hear.
Yeah, the defense playing well is great to hear, right? Because even if they become like a top 15 defense or teeter around average, I think that's some growth there, and you can see a lot of these young guys get better, and that's what you want to see. Because then they got some young pieces over there finally that they can grow with, and I think that would be good if those guys show out and have a good season.
For sure.
All right, guys. Like I said, hit the subscribe button. Subscribe. We'll have the film dropping. There's gonna be a lot of film on the channel next week, so be on the lookout for that. You guys have tons of breakdowns, and of course, me and Matt will come back and review the game with the film that we watch after it drops on Sunday or Monday, whenever that film drops. All right, so be on the lookout for that, guys. And peace. We're out.
See ya.